Hello everybody, welcome back to Memory Gamma. Today we're going to continue with our Heroes of the Federation and we're going to move on to the final Enterprise in the series. We're going to move on to the Enterprise E, Sovereign class. Obviously this was introduced in First Contact after the destruction of Enterprise D in Generations. Obviously it was sidelined during the Dominion Wars, we never see it. In the beta canon, it was obviously as the flagship of the 10th Fleet. It spent a long time on diplomatic missions to people like the Gorn and flying around the galaxy, basically being a poster boy of aren't we really cool. But also when the Breen attacked Earth near the end of the Dominion War, the Enterprise E, obviously as the head of the Earth Defense Fleet, stormed in and helped defeat the Breen above Earth, so Earth wasn't completely destroyed, just crippled. So, the Enterprise E is a Sovereign class. There is only one Enterprise E. You might see two on here, but this is because this is a flip ship, as it were. So the Enterprise E can flip over its sides. So the original one is up here. So the first ability is when you attack with a torpedo weapon, with a torpedo upgrade, you can place an aux power token beside your ship to fire it without needing a target lock, which is absolutely amazing. It's a brilliant thing you can do because it means you don't have to worry about target lock and then have no action for quality, but it also means that you can fire these at cloaked ships without having to worry about that they're perma-cloaked. In the end phase you can flip it over, and this is the one that's very much more like insurrection level of Enterprise E. Whenever you perform a green maneuver, at the check for power strain step, if you did a green maneuver, you get an evade token and +1 defense dice each time you defend this round. So this ship works one of two ways. Now, because it's one ship that is a flip, we can either build this entirely based around one of them, or we just build it and we have bits that can do both. So we're going to start with the torpedo version. Now, obviously, as I said in the last video, we're going to copy the same thing. So we're going to have obviously the captain, we're going to have the admiral, we're going to have the crew, and I'm going to try and use different crew upgrades to the ones I used last time to make sure that we're not just duplicating the same abilities. So Captain Jean-Luc Picard, because of course. Now, there are lots of Picard as we did obviously we did. There's the double action Picard we used last time. There's the weapon upgrades, can take the damage for crew, cheap abilities, bonus slot. So I think for this, we'll go with Ahab Picard in the bonus slot. That gives you +1 defenses against the chosen faction, and you can roll one less dice to add one crit result during the roll attack dice. So, beautiful. Now for admirals. There isn't a lot of admirals, however, Matthew Dougherty. Now, some people are going to go, whoa, why are you using Dougherty? Dougherty's terrible. Dougherty's not. He's an action, disable one upgrade, and every time you defend this round, you get a bonus defense dice. Now, when you pair that with this Picard, and if we're on the other side of this ship, you're rolling then 3 defense dice for the round. Maybe even 4, pardon me. So the idea would be we would fly in with the Enterprise E this way up, shoot with the torpedoes, then in the end phase, flip over the ship. Next round, do a green maneuver, clear the aux power token that we got from its ability, and then we could do action Dougherty. Disable something on your ship. It is just an upgrade. Doesn't have to be a crew or a weapon or a tech, just an upgrade. And then you get 1 base, 1 for Dougherty, 1 for Picard, 1 for the ship ability. So then you're rolling 4 defense dice on a Sovereign class. That's pretty cool and can be quite nice. As long as you've got some way of re-enabling, then no problem. Now for the first time, I am going to do Dominion Retrofit. Because the Enterprise E Sovereign was in service during the Dominion War, it is finally appropriate for us to have Dominion Retrofit for a bonus slot and a bonus shield. So, we're looking for a talent. Now, again, Oh look, legacy of the name. I know. There are lots of things we could do. There is fire at will, there's attack pattern omega, any number of things that we could do. But we're going to stick with legacy of the name, I think, just because it gives us the ability to do, say for example, Matthew Dougherty's as a free action. So we could do that and something else. We're also going to, because it's a Federation starship, captained by Picard, we're going to have tea. It's just something that we do. It's never a bad idea. Now, what we're looking for is something for bonuses. So now, a Riker. Now, we used the defensive Riker last time. So we could go for free action Riker, bonus crew slot, disable him and do a captain, elite talent or crew action as a free action. Nice. But again, that's simply disabling him to do somebody else's action. Maybe not. Other ones we didn't use last time. There's Geordie, where we could do the manoeuvring one for bonus skill, bonus speed to our manoeuvres, up or down. We could add a tech slot and make the enemy lose defense dice against us and decloak them. That might not be a bad shout, because we could do action, target that on, say, the enemy cloaked ship, say the Scimitar, for thematicism's sake. They'd lose 2 defense dice against our attacks. Then you take an Orc's power token and fire your massive torpedoes against them. And not only do you not need a target lock, you've got they roll 2 less defense dice. And it means that they're being forced out of cloak. So that's actually not a bad idea. We might go with Geordie. Now, other people. There is okay, so people that only show up later on. You have Sean Hawke. After an opposing ship range 1 to 3 makes a maneuver, you can time token him to rotate your maneuver dial to a different maneuver at the same speed as the opposing ship. So you can key in what you like, and when an enemy ship moves, you can change to do the same speed as them. So you're chasing down a ship and you go, right, I'm going to say I think they're going a 2 this way, and then they go 5 straight forwards and you go, oh, fair enough. Or they go 4 or 3 hard turn, you go, fair enough, rotate the maneuver dial to the same speed. So basically it stays with them. It's like a pursuit course, which is very much what Mr. Hawke does in First Contact. So that's nice. There is Kel Perim. Whenever you remove a disabled token from a crew from one of your Federation upgrades, you 2 time token her and get an evade token. So whenever you re-enable something, you get an evade token for 2 time tokens on her. Now that's not bad, very much not bad, but of course it requires you to then spend time action re-enabling. Now, of course, she would work amazingly if we were doing a big crew build of lots of combinations and then a way to drop and just wipe all the disabled tokens out. Tim Waters, Flock, something like that. We're not doing that, so obviously she's going to be okay, but not amazing. There's also Padraig Daniels. He is the tactical officer. Allows us to maintain 2 blue target locks. Nice, not so much necessary if we've got the torpedo upgrade. So, who else do we have? We could do Worf. Obviously, we did Worf this one last time. You get the Orc's power token. Reroll up to 2 blanks. Don't so much need that this time. We could use... Now, Agawa is interesting. She's 2 time tokens to remove a disabled token from a lower decks crew, and then 2 time token that upgrade instead, which then eventually becomes 1 time token from the end phase. So if we were to do that, we would go to... So we're going to go to ascending, and then I'm going to type in lower. So lower decks, I will quickly go into the lower deck rules, and I don't think I've mentioned it before. Lower deck crew. Every crew that has a lower deck means that they are minor crew members, provided that their faction symbol matches the faction symbol of the ship. You can put 2 lower deck crew into 1 slot. So if we do lower deck there, it gives us 2 slots, but only for lower deck crew. We throw a Gower in, And then we're looking for a lower deck crew that we can disable for free, or just with Dougherty. So they could be the one that we use with Dougherty, and then she enables you to 2-time token to free remove it, and then you use them every other turn. That's not a bad shout. Tito Jaxa keeps our captain around. Sam Lavelle is a disable for a red maneuver. These are the Voyager ones. That's the Excelsior. Sonia Gomez, action for repair with a scan token possibly. Could use Wesley Crusher. Wesley might not be bad, but then again, you already want to use Wesley for his ability. And you've got Taurik, who is our Vulcan engineer. You can disable the card and spend a scan token to repair a shield. If you've got Orc's power token, you can repair a hull instead. Maybe. But I think in this case, we could just go for Tito Jaxa. She's a 1-point crew. She fits in with Ogawa, and you can just use her for disabling that. And if ever you need to do, if you have it into duality, you can disable her at any point to swap one token that you do have with another token. So that's useful if if you've been given a bunch of tokens by a friendly ship, or if you've been Alador Jarox and you said, right, you must perform evade this round, or you must perform scan. At the end, you can just go, fair enough, swap tokens out. So she's got use at the 1-point skill, and when you do use her, or use her for Dougherty, Ogawa re-enables her. There we go. That's quite nice. Now, weaponry. Of course, we're going to look at torpedoes, because that's the whole point of this thing. Now, the Sovereign is famous and obviously is quite useful because it's got a lot of weapon slots, has a lot of power, and it's got a forward and rear firing arc. So, things we could do. Now, the Enterprise E canonically comes with both photons and quantums, so I think if we stick to that. So, quantum torpedoes. Now, there are some very expensive ones. 6 points for 5 dice. If the enemy's hit, you add 1 damage. These are the old style ones. We're going to go to these ones. These ones are really nice. So their attack value is equal to weapon value plus 1. They cost 3 points. So for 3 points, you're getting 6 dice. Now, they are forward firing arc locked, so you can't fire them out of the rear. However, when you declare the enemy the target, they get an Orc's power token, just for you pulling the trigger. Even if you don't roll any dice due to stun helmsman or firing through a planet, provided you declare the target and disable the card and fire the weapon, they get an Orc's power token. And for every crit you roll, you add a hit. Now, this is important. Jean-Luc Picard is you roll 1 less dice to add 1 crit to your roll. So in the roll attack dice step, you roll your dice, and then you add 1 crit. Then you go, how many crits have you got? Add a hit. Picard's add 1 crit to your roll triggers an automatic hit from the quantums, because he's in a roll attack dice thing rather than in the modified attack dice you'd add 1. You roll 1 less dice, add 1 to your roll rather than modifying. That should be how that works. So, and of course, for every crit you roll, you add 1 hit. So if you do manage to Yahtzee and roll 3 or 4 crits, well, then they all explode. And it's only 3 points. Really nice. So now if we look for some photon torpedoes, the ones we can use for photonic cannon, the ones we can use from the rear firing arc. Now, obviously, there's lots of very expensive ones. High yields are maybe not really a bad idea. They're 3-time tokens, 6 dice with a battle station to crit conversion, but they are 6 points. They work amazingly on things like a torpedo gunboat, the Spectre, something like that, but not so much necessarily in the Enterprise E. Now, anyone that knows me and knows me playing and knows what I've said previously will know I'm not a fan of the thing I'm about to put on. But what I'm going to do is we're going to use the modern 2-point Federation photon torpedoes. 2-time tokens for attack value, prime weapon plus 1, blanked battle stations conversions. This is one of the very few ships where it's a brilliant idea, because you don't need the target locks. You can just go action battle stations, fire these torpedoes, and you've got perfect quality. This is a brilliant ship to have them. It's absolutely brilliant. And of course, they're 2-time tokens. You've got lots of weapon slots, so you could bring 2 copies, either by putting an arsenal in and then putting them in, But at that point then you only need to bring one of them because you'll be able to fire it every single round. You could bring Torpedo Bay, which allows you to place your time tokens on it instead. So you put 2 time tokens, you can fire them 2 turns in a row. And then on the 3rd turn you have to let them recharge. So that's 2 points to allow you to fire them double tap. Possibly. Totally could do. Something that we could do is we go full spread. Now, full spread is a really nice card. This is when attacking with a torpedo upgrade, you may discard this card and the torpedo you just fired. Make another attack with the same torpedo upgrade against a different target, even if that target is even if the torpedo is disabled, has time tokens, or you no longer have a target lock to spend. So, you can fire the quantum torpedoes, take an Orc's power token to not need the target lock, fire them at the enemy ship, then throw full spread. And full spread allows you to make a second attack with them. You discard them, but since it gives you immunity to the target lock in its ability, you don't have to take a second Orc's power token to fire them again. And that allows you to fire these twice, once at 2 different targets. If you really wanted to go the whole hog, we can put a talent in, Dispersal Pattern Sierra, which enables us to fire the photon torpedoes up to 3 targets in our forward firing arc. If you really want to spread the pain. That's not a bad shout. It's a little bit limiting on the 90-degree firing arc. You're really relying on everything being in front of you. But because you don't need the target lock to perform the attack, this is a really nice thing. If someone's gone, here's a fleet of cloaked ships, you can do Dispersal Pattern Sierra. And you can fire them all at the targets without requiring target locks. And actually, that might be what we do. I really like that idea, actually. Dispersal Pattern Sierra. When attacking with photon torpedoes, during the declared target step, discard this card to target 2 or 3 different ships in your forward firing arc. If you target 2 ships, each attack is at -1. If you target 3 ships, each attack is -2. There we go. Now, because they're separate attacks, you can't add dice to the original dice roll. So you can't say bump it up to 8 dice with a tactical station and then reduce it down to 6 on 3 dice. It becomes 3 4-dice attacks and you have to boost each one independently. But that is possible if you've got something that adds bonus attack dice from a friend. And also, if you do that and you're firing at the target that you hate, you get Picard's attacking extra crit every single time. And if you really want to combo it, you fire the photon torpedoes. Discard Dispersal Pattern Sierra to fire all 3 different targets. When you've done that, you can then discard full spread and the photons and fire the photons at another target. Now, because you've made 3 separate attacks and 3 separate targets, as long as the full spread, when you've just made the attacking with the final torpedo shot, so you can then target firing at target 1, target 2, target 3, and you've discarded Dispersal Pattern Sierra. You can then discard full spread, and you could fire your torpedoes again at ship 1 or 2 again. So that's a amazingly sprayy ship, and that would be at the full normal dice because it's the same basic attack. You wouldn't have the -2. That was only for firing the Sierra. So that's scary. And of course, you've got Geordie for knocking off defense dice. So if you pick, for example, the situation might be Scimitar and a couple of, say you've got Scimitar and the 2 Valdors, they're all attacking you. You Dispersal Pattern Sierra, Geordie's targeted the Scimitar, and then you go Valdor, Scimitar, Valdor, and then full spread back at the Scimitar. So each of the Valdors has taken a 4-dice attack with a guaranteed crit thanks to Jean-Luc. The Scimitar has taken a 4 dice and a 6 dice. Both of them have lost 2 defense dice. And you get a bonus crit each time. That's pretty scary. And whenever a battle station is put beside your ship, you can time token that to revive either a Gower, the photon torpedoes, Legacy of the Name. And then obviously if you need to survive, Dougherty just disables JAXA. Now we've got tech upgrades. Tech upgrades are interesting in this place because realistically there's not an awful lot. I mean, we could go for Multi-adaptive shielding, which is very much sort of like along the same lines. Multi-adaptive shielding, +1 shield, +1 defense dice, ignore full defense against minefield, and enemy scan tokens. Just also gives you some more ability. Gives you 7 shields. Not a bad shout. If you wanted just more shields, you could just go for reinforced shielding to cap this out to its max of 8, and then just leave it. 8 shields, not bad. It's going to take, I mean, it'll take a couple of attacks to chew through all of those shields. But there is a special sovereign ability. I think it's called, here we are, a tactical data link. Sovereign class only. Now, when a friendly ship within range is attacking, if the defending ship has this ship's target lock token beside it, they can reroll 1 dice. Not so useful for this particular ship because we're relying on no target locks, but it's a really nice sovereign unique upgrade. Now, there's a couple of other upgrades which are benefit on the sovereign, which include the modern bioneural circuitry. It's got a little sovereign down here, which is after you execute maneuver, you can disable it to perform an action on your action bar or ship card as a free action. Or in the perform action step, you can 3-time token this to do action bar actions, even with auxiliary power tokens. And that's nice. That's 2 points. And that's really, really cool. The other one is Astrometrics Lab, which also is sovereign class, if you can see that right down the bottom, which is when you perform the scan action, 3-time token to do a sensor echo. Now, both of those are obviously made famous by Voyager, but they get special bonus for Sovereign. They get special things for Intrepid, Sovereign, or question mark ship. There is a question mark symbol on this card. That is for ships that are that is for a ship that is coming out in a future pack, hopefully. Also, Astrometrics gives us another tech upgrade. Now, last time we did the exocomp, I believe, for the passive repair with data around the exocomp for continuing repair. With this, we could go for, what have we got? We could go for some hull. We could go for ablative, not ablative hull, I mean, that's Prometheus only. But we could go for, again, exocomp's not a bad idea. Micro power relays for keeping us going. Improved hull plating, just convert a crit down to a hit when defending. Useful if the enemy's got something similar to Picard. So, potentially, we could look at shields. You could disable a shield for a free scan, which would enable us to trigger Astrometrics Lab without having to use our normal action. That could be a thing. Disable a shield, you do move, disable a shield, have a free scan. That free scan triggers you a 1 sensor echo with the Astrometrics Lab. Then you could trigger Legacy of the Name, do another free action, say Dougherty, and you've still got your normal action to do as a battle stations. And now you've got scan, you've sensor echoed, bonus defense dice, and battle stations. And you've got the potential of firing your photon torpedoes 4 times in 1 turn at 3 separate targets, or double tapping your quantums. It's a potential. It's a really nice idea, I think. That could work really nicely. But let's have a little look just in case. Unimatrix, very useful against the Borg. We've got High Capacity Deflector Shield Grid. It's a very wordy title. For basically, it's 5 points for a double evade. So you're paying 5 points for while you have active shields. You can discard this to cancel 2 damage. So it works the same as having 2 evade tokens exactly when you need them. Okay, but not amazing. Temporal shielding. Probably it came with Voyager with the idea of obviously the whole Krenim, but temporal shielding, you know, it's something that the Federation does know about. And it also is, while you have active shields, you can remove an additional time token from any one card equipped to your ship, including the ship card. So if you had temporal shielding on board, which I suppose you could say, you know, they flew through the temporal wake in First Contact. I mean, that's stretching it a little bit, because obviously data says that it's only the chronometric particles that protect them from the changes in the timeline, the wake they were trapped in, rather than the shielding. but that's going very much into the meta of it, and I don't want to get bogged down in that in this video because that's for a very different video. We could go for just advanced shielding. Now, advanced shields is a nice idea. It's +2 to the shields, giving us 8 total. And as an action, we can remove the card from the game and repair 3 shields. So that's when we've taken a bunch of damage, our shields are either almost gone or are gone. We can then go action, repair 3 shields. It gives us some more life for one time because it is a remove from game. But you can remove the card from the game, repair 3 shields, and obviously we've got enough things here that you can do that as an action and still have usually an action to do something else. So, here is my Enterprise E. Now, Dougherty is going to cause a rift in here, people, because a lot of people don't like him. However, he's a disable for +1 defense dice every time you defend against everything. So if you're going to get shot multiple times, he's brilliant. It's an action for bonus defense dice permanently for that whole round. Combine that with Picard's bonus, the other side of the Enterprise E bonus for doing a green maneuver, and this thing here could be rolling 4 dice with battle stations quality in defense. That's nice. There's more than enough punch here for this thing to punch way above its weight, taking down scimitars and Borg cubes and the like. Geordie gives us a nice ability. When we do our massive spray and pray with our attack, we can make one ship really hurt. Or it's just useful for bringing that annoying ship out of cloak. Yes, you don't need to bring them out of cloak because you've got the ability to fire without a target lock. But sometimes, you want to stop that ship from, doing its free stuff every single turn. So you just do that, flip their cloak token over to its red side, at which point they have to decloak that round because almost all cloaking abilities that allow you to remain cloaked say when you would attack and flip your cloak token over, Orc's power token or something similar to not flip it over. However, this is an action, so you've already flipped it to its red side as part of the move in the movement phase. Effectively, when it gets to the combat phase, they're already decloaking. At that point, then they might as well fire because they are decloaking. There's a handful of ways. Kolar's battle cruiser and Ch'Targ, both Klingon abilities, interesting enough, allow you to flip your cloak token back over to its green side in the end phase. Integrated cloak for the Romulans allows you to, if you blow the enemy up, you get to either flip your cloak token back to the green side or cloak for free if you weren't already cloaked. But I'm digressing. So, there's a lot of power here. A Gower keeps the Ajaxa going, so you've got a card to use for Dougherty. You've got Legacy of the Name again for just that free action economy when you need to do Geordie or Advanced Shields or Dougherty all in the same turn. T just enables you to speed things up if you need to on those off turns. You've got the ability to flip the ship over and get bonus defense dice and an evade token if you need to survive. You've got a one-time repair, sensor echo shenanigans, and a mondo powerful alpha strike in your quantums and photons with full spread. So, this is the Enterprise E. And this is the end of the Enterprise series worth of ships. The Hero ship series will continue for a couple more. Obviously, I've got to do Voyager, DS9, and the Defiant. I might do Deep Space Nine and the Defiant in one video, so I don't overlap crew between the two, so they can work together. Or I might do them separately, depends on how I feel. So, this is the Enterprise E. It is very much, again, not the best one that you could possibly build. This thing could be built to be so much more powerful. You could give it a dorsal phaser array to give it a 360 firing instead of the full spread. You could drop the photons and just have the quantums and upgrade it to have type 10 for your prime weapon firing 6 dice. You could do this with fire at will, allowing you to do a normal attack and a torpedo attack in the same turn. There's all sorts of things that you could do. However, I do quite like this. This has come out quite nicely. It's got a lot of offensive power, a lot of defensive power, a little bit of repair, some manoeuvre bits with the Astrometrics lab. There's a bit of everything here. So, thank you very much for joining me. If you do have any advice, any questions, anything you want to raise, if you think Dougherty's terrible, drop me a message and I'll happily do a episode on just Dougherty and explain to him why I think he's so good and why I think he's a bit underutilized. If there's something in here that you've never thought of using, like dispersal pattern Sierra or advanced shields, again, just let me know in the comments. It's always good to know where everyone sort of heads at. And thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next time.